With the listening, I mean, obviously, this is gonna sound so obvious, but like when people struggle with listening, there's a couple of things I just want to sort of say. So obviously, it could just be vocabulary. Yeah, it could just be that people are saying words that you don't know because you're at this level. And if you're, for example, if you're listening to people who are like native Swedes who are sort of speaking in their habitat or, you know, on TV or whatever it is, you got to remember that they speak on a C2 level. Yeah. So if you're on like A2 or A1 or A2 or whatever your level is, they're up here. So obviously, that's going to be harder to follow. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a lot of the things where people struggle with listening is also, and we've talked about this before, but it's the contractions and the reductions. So it's like trying to learn those as soon as you can, which is what I've tried to do. So in this course, with like trying to teach them as quickly as possible, so you know what to drop, what's often being dropped, what's often being shoved together or whatever. So yeah, so it can, of course, and I mean, with the level thing, that's like, you can't do anything about that apart from just keep going and keep going to the next level. But you can't, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's unfair on yourself if you're like, why can I not understand this when it's like a much more advanced level, you know? So like, unless that person is speaking in like A1 or A2 or B1 level, yeah, of course it's going to be hard because they're going to use much bigger vocabulary than maybe where you're at this moment. And that's just the way it is. I think there's also, for some people, or for most people probably, there's also like when you're listening to a language that you're learning, or that's not your first language, your brain can, I mean, a lot of people say this, your brain just go into like a freeze, panicky. It's like, your brain just like, and like you say, you latch on to one thing and you're like, what is that? Or maybe I recognize that, but what was that? Oh no, was it this? Was it that? Oh, I've forgotten what it was. And then the conversation or whatever has moved on. So it is like, you can also practice sort of, you know, like skim reading. So when you're not reading every single word, but you're just like, what's the gist of this text? I'm just going to like skim. If you can try and take a little bit of that approach when you're listening as well. Obviously, with the active listening in this course, it's a lot more active.
Right.
But like, if you can just like have a vibe sometimes of like skim listening and not sort of freak out so much when you're hearing a word that you don't, just try and like bob along with the waves a bit more. I know it's easier said than done, but like have that vibe.